What's up everyone, it's Caddy with Money Investing. So in this video we are going to be talking about the market itself. We've got the big inflation numbers coming out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. I will be live to cover that report, so make sure that you do join us for when the CPI numbers come out, and of course take a look at the market's reaction as well. We do have lots to unpack because, again, like I said, inflation's coming out. Moody's did downgrade a lot of banks, which did result in a little bit of that accelerated sell-off. Not to mention, we've been talking about that technical breakdown for the markets for a long time below that 21 EMA, and of course the Nasdaq, the S&P, and the Dow all selling off today. This week we're down. Last week we were also down. So in this video I'm going to break down exactly what is to come next moving forward. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, find it helpful. If you do, make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. All I'm asking is that you drop a like button, and of course check out the links down below for our Discord, Patreon, and educational courses. There's a lot of value, a lot of benefits included if you are interested in, of course, being a part of our community. So this right here, the Dow sheds nearly 200 points. Nasdaq drops 1% as August slide resumes ahead of inflation report. Now, in my previous videos, I also talked about how there is a seasonality to August, right? First week of August, we were red. Second week of August, we're also so far red. And that is because August and September are two of the worst months for the market from a seasonality perspective. September being the worst, August being at a close second. Maybe not a close second, but at a second place when it comes to seasonality. So again, it's just that seasonality trend. Of course, last year, September was brutal, right? And even August was pretty bad because of the Jackson Hole meeting, which we do have later this month. So we'll talk about that when the time comes. But there's definitely a seasonality effect with August and September. Markets are focused on whether or not inflation is falling fast enough to allow the Fed to stop hiking rates. And it's been decelerating, but it's still too high, and the Fed is a bit of a crossroads at the moment. And of course, Wednesday's moves follows a losing day on Wall Street after Moody's downgrade for several regional banks dampened investor sentiment. And some market participants were concerned the signal could spell more trouble for markets ahead. And the Nasdaq Composite has lost 4.4% since August began, and the S&P is down over 2.6%. The Dow is down 1.2% respectively. So we are in a pullback / a dip territory. I went over those tiers specifically for this reason, for us to understand where we are in this sell-off. We are still in a pullback / a dip territory, right? This is nothing more than that. So there's no need for us to freak out and go crazy. But yes, I will point out that technically speaking, we are starting to see some breakdowns. We talked about Apple, we talked about Amazon, we talked about Tesla, Nvidia, AMD, PayPal, Google, Microsoft, all these companies on the Market Updates channel to better understand whether we're seeing a breakdown below these technicals or not, because those are your signals. The stocks that I just mentioned make up over 25-30% of the entire market. They're the ones that are actually dictating where we go. They're the ones driving this move higher or lower. And since Apple broke down pretty heavily below that 21 EMA, it's very normal for us to see that sell-off, because Apple, largest company in the world from a market cap standpoint, broke down after the earnings below that 21 EMA. We're still kind of hovering over that support at 177 even today. Even today, it kind of came down to 177.01, perfectly validating that support. Buyers tried and they tried. It's going to be really coming down to the battle that we see after the inflation numbers come out. In case we see a breakdown below that 21 EMA, of course, we've already seen that. In case we see a breakdown below that support at 177 for Apple, got to brace yourself, because there might be more potential downside ahead for the S&P and the Nasdaq, something that we need to watch. And risk management is something, very, very important, right? Risk management needs to be there from everyone. Nvidia dropped. We'll go over all these stocks here, but let's just quickly go over of course, the market update. So Nvidia down almost 5%, Tesla down 3%, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Apple. This is exactly why we talk about pullbacks and dips and technical levels to watch, because of these reasons, right? Because of this. Because once we start to see that sell-off, it can only accelerate from a technical standpoint. Of course, we're coming down to some very, very important support levels for a lot of these companies, which I'll break down in just a minute. But energy was up, utilities were up, everything else was down. In the last 1 week, energy, healthcare is still pushing higher. Everything else is underperforming over the last 1 month. We've got comm services, energy, healthcare, financial, defensives still higher. Technology is selling off. Utilities, real estate, industrial underperforming and selling off. That's exactly one of the reasons also why I've mentioned from a tactical allocation standpoint why it is a little bit more important, why it is even, not advised, but suggested that I'm personally going to be moving a little bit more defensively over the next 5 months because of the rallies we've seen in technology. And again, because of the fact that these are unsustainable moves. You can't have Nvidia go up 200, 300% every few months, every quarter. You can't have Apple go up 40, 50% every few quarters, right? This is just not feasible. There's just not enough money out there for these stocks to continue these rallies upwards, right? So there is going to be a level where they get up to and then start going sideways or even start coming down if there is some profit taking. So that's exactly, again, some things that we have already talked about. Now, sugar prices, orange juice, wheat, soybean, and of course ethanol, everything pushing higher with volatility. Lean hogs, coffee, cocoa, lumber prices selling off. Bitcoin's flat, Ether's flat, 1850. Bitcoin's at 29,500. By the way, I will be starting to actually buy Bitcoin and Ether here very soon. So we'll do a separate video on that and what the buying process is going to look like, because I do plan on having a offline hardware wallet, nothing online. So that is something on the agenda for the weeks and the months to come. We'll be buying and getting into crypto as a very small percentage allocation as well. So we'll talk about that more. CPI here, again, tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Consensus we've already gone over. Year over year expected to tick higher to 3.3. Core expected to stay flat. Month over month, 20 basis points for both core and headline. So going over to oil prices, once again, breaking through the resistance here, $84 a barrel right now, and starting to break past $81 a barrel. So we'll go ahead and turn this level into a support. That is, in my opinion, a little bit concerning because of the fact that this, again, controls very much where inflation goes. Gas prices are up 8% on a month-over-month basis. We talked about it in our previous video. And of course, they're also up another 1.2% to $3.82 on average per gallon in the United States. And again, crude oil, if it continues to push higher with all the Middle East and of course Russia, because of the supply-demand imbalance, supply cuts, inflation could start to go higher once again, right? That's the key point there. Bitcoin here, again, just, very, very flat, 29,500. So starting to push higher a little bit, just consolidating, not really moving anywhere. And of course, Ether at 1850. Support level is going to sit at 1820 right now. So going back over to the S&P 500. So again, you can start to see that we're not able to reclaim that 21 EMA. Remember I talked about this? I mentioned that if the bulls can do a good job in reclaiming that 21 EMA, if we can start to kind of push back that level, it's possible that we can save ourselves from this potential sell-off. But we're not able to do that, right? Today, sellers made it very clear that they're not going to let us break past 4,500. The 21 EMA is sitting at 4504. We got up to 4502, got rejected, sold right back down 70 basis points. Support level is going to now sit at 4450. So this right here is going to be that next support. That's a reasonable pullback and a dip of a little bit under 4%. Very reasonable, nothing to, again, go crazy over. But in case we see a breakdown below this level, which could happen if Apple breaks below 177, of course, some of the other stocks also break down below their support levels, then, of course, the next level is going to be 4330. And, of course, a lot of that will depend on inflation. So 4330 is going to put us down a little bit over 6%. Again, nothing to go crazy over, nothing to freak out, but it's a very reasonable sort of pullback dip for the market. And of course, that's going to be that next support level in case we break down below 4450. The NASDAQ, same thing. We have already started to break below that support, something that we talked about below that 21 EMA. And of course, starting to see that pullback, that dip. I know I was being told I was crazy to expect the markets to be sell off or pull back or see that dip. But hey, I've been doing this long enough, so I understand that nothing can happen forever. No stock or index or anything is going to go up forever. And it's the same as true for the way down, right? We are going to see pullbacks. We're going to see dips. We're going to see the markets kind of have this ebb and flow. And of course, the overall trend can be up. But in the short term, let's say a few months, few weeks, we are going to see these pullbacks. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now with the NASDAQ down 5% from its recent highs. Very normal, very reasonable. Next support is going to be down to 13,380, and that's going to put us down, I think, over 8% from our recent highs. Yep, so 8%, that's a reasonable sort of dip slash correction, right? So now we're getting into that correction territory in case that sell-off accelerates after the CPI numbers. So starting with Apple, again, 177 is going to be that support. We pinpointed that level perfectly. So again, if we do see a breakdown below this level, next support is going to be down to 157. 157 is going to be a great level to start a swing trading potential trade for Apple. No brainer. Like I am I am in at Apple at 157 if it drops over 20% from its highs at those moving averages. No doubt about it. I can close my eyes and I will hit that buy button at 157 for Apple. No doubt about it. Amazon here, of course, sitting at that support. Again, if Amazon breaks below that 137 level, in case today came down to 137.10, very precise at that support. In case we break down, next support is going to be 126 for Apple. Tesla, 240, 240, 240. We've talked about this at that support. It is absolutely crazy how everything's trading at support right now. In case inflation doesn't surprise us to the upside, to the better side, I don't know what to say. So we got to be careful here. Breakdown below 240 can send us down to 228, to 200s, like even low 200s. That's going to be great for my calls. All of them are going to be out of the money, but that's going to be that next support in case Tesla breaks below 240. So very, very important levels to pay attention to. NVIDIA, $425 right now, starting to break down below 21 EMA for the first time in a super, super long time. This has not happened since December of last year, all of 2023, NVIDIA has traded above its 21 EMA. It's the first time we're seeing that breakdown for a very long time, in over 7 months. So this sell-off is, in my opinion at least, again, I know I'm going to poke the bear, or actually poke the bull this time, but in my opinion, there's more to come, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's sub 400 here fairly soon, given how valuations are so high and it needs a reset. And of course, this right here is going to turn into a resistance now, in line with that 21 EMA, 445, 450. Next support down to $407 per share. Talking about advanced micro devices, we're waiting for sub 100 to be selling those puts. And right now, it's validating that support at 106, 105. In case we see a breakdown, we know where the stock is going, and I know where I'm actually going to be buying. PayPal. New lows after the, of course, earnings. It's seen that accelerated sell-off. $60 is going to be that next level to pay attention to. I can easily see PayPal get down to $60. Square at support, $62. This right here, very, very important level. Oversold RSI and MACD. Maybe it's got a little bit more downside. Maybe it comes down to sub 59, but that's going to be that support. And of course, it's coming down to some very nice risk-reward trade-offs from a swing trading perspective. So we'll talk about that when the time comes. I'll share some details in our Discord from a swing trading analysis as well. Again, link's going to be down below if you want to get access to all those trade ideas and, of course, buy and sell alerts. Talking about Meta platforms now. And Meta here also breaking down below that 21 EMA. But the last time, the buyers stepped in on the back of earnings, and we did see a pretty significant rally after the earnings were released. This time, I don't think there's going to be any rescue for the buyers. We're at support at $300. In case we break down below 300, I think we should be prepared to see Meta at least in the 280s, if not in the 260s in the weeks to come. Of course, only if it breaks down below that $300 threshold, that floor. And of course, CPI, if it's not that encouraging, it's possible. Sub 300. 428 for Netflix here. Support level is going to stay down to 410. We've seen a lot of consolidation, a lot of sideways action for Netflix. Resistance is going to stay put at 458. Support level down to $410, all the way down to that support at 380 for Netflix. Valuation still a little too high, so I am not interested in buying the stock at the moment. Google getting rejected at 132, something that we have talked about. Again, this right here is a little bit of resistance. And as I mentioned, that we are still needing to fill that gap here after the earnings. So support level with that 21 EMA at 127. In case we see a breakdown, again, at support right now, a lot of these stocks are. In case we see that breakdown, there is potential for us to come down to 115, of course, bringing down the S&P and the NASDAQ with it in that process. Microsoft here, on the other hand, also, look at that. Would you look at that? I'm not going to say anything. I'm literally not going to say anything. That's it. I am just going to leave you with this chart. If you've been following my market updates, that's it. I'm not going to say anything. Anyway, so 322, we are here. 312, next target in case we see that breakdown below 322. And as I mentioned, it's after the 21 EMA broke down in the 340s. I was almost certain that we're going to see down to 320s for Microsoft. And here we are, 322. 312 is going to be that next target in case we see a breakdown below 322 here tomorrow, which again depends very much on the CPI numbers. And finally, we got Shopify and Enphase. Shopify here, continues to sell off here. Again, down 1.76%. $54 is going to be that floor for Shopify in the near term, support level to watch. And finally, we got Enphase selling off. Obviously, Enphase actually did push higher. I did a video on Enphase, so make sure that you do check that out. We're at that good deal level almost, not exactly inside this green rectangle, but very strong support. Oversold RSI MACD. Resistance is going to be at 151, and the next target also at those levels. So wouldn't be surprised if Enphase actually does kind of diverge away from the market over the next couple days, couple weeks here, considering that it's already oversold and we're already starting to see valuations compress for Enphase. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it helpful. If you did, make sure that you drop a like. Very, very short, quick update on the market, and hopefully this was helpful. Again, tomorrow is going to be very, very important with CPI numbers coming out. Happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.